and lawful men in open court as heretofore used, and section 12, that no free man ought to be taken, imprisoned, or deprived of his freehold, liberties, or privileges, or outlawed or exiled in any manner, destroyed or deprived of life, liberty, or property, but by the law of the land, meaning the common law. A citizen of this country, before he can be subjected to the punishment of treason or to the disabilities consequent upon it, must be convicted of a jury of his neighborhood upon the previous accusation of a grand jury of his neighbors. Also, upon a trial before a court appointed by law for the purpose of seeing that he has every legal advantage the law entitles to him. Not every legal advantage the law entitles to the prosecutor. He is not to be deprived of his liberty or of his rights essential to his enjoyment, but by the law of the land. And what is the law of the land? Such acts of the legislature only as violate none of the rules laid down in the Constitution, such as allow the citizen the privileges there secured to him, acts inconsistent with the rights of freemen as declared in the Constitution, which take away their constitutional privileges, which in short deprive a man of his life or of the means of protecting by any application to the laws of his country for redress of wrongs without a previous trial by a jury and a conviction by them, are not laws of the land. Such are acts not authorized by the Constitution. They have no claim to the obedience or support of the citizen as laws. They are void. Now, that's one of the highest courts that existed in this country in 1796. And they say the jury must be made up of what they call peers, but here we find out what the definition of a peer is, and we find out that the peers are the man's neighbors from his neighborhood.
That's what it says. It definitely does. I've never seen it.
Says he has upon the previous accusation of a grand jury of his neighbors. Now, today, where do they get these people they call grand jurors or petit jurors, the 12-man jury, which now think, gee, it's only like 7 or 8 of them when it's supposed to be 12. They go out and get unknowns out of the street off of the voting list, people that have registered to vote, that have accepted the franchise of a foreign jurisdiction to be allowed to, instead of cast a ballot, click a Chad, okay? And they take those people that are unknowns and they give you not a trial by jury, because a trial by jury would have to be a trial of your neighbors that know you, that know how you operate, that know whether you're a crook, whether you're a drunk, whether you're a drug addict, or whether you're a good, honest Christian man, or whether you're a Muslim or you're from a foreign country. They know everything about you. That's why you're supposed to be tried by them. But instead today they have what they classify as a jury trial. And a jury trial is not the same thing as a trial by jury. A jury trial is a trial by unknowns that know nothing about you. They have no clue who you are or how you normally operate, what is consistent or inconsistent about your character, which is contrary to what the Founding Fathers created. Now,
wow. That strikes me as really an important issue. That strikes me as an important issue because I know I got called for federal jury duty in Los Angeles, 150 miles from where I live.
Right.
And there's no way I could have been a neighbor to anybody in Los Angeles who was a defendant from Los Angeles. And yet they called me, paid me well to come and sit in a room waiting to be called, and I was not a neighbor to any of those cases.
Right.
That's a really interesting point you bring up in that case.
Now, let me throw a little more of a tidbit in here from another really, really old book that we found, happened to be run across inside one of these old law libraries. This is called a treatise upon some of the general principles of the law, whether of a legal or of an equitable nature, including relations and applications to actions and defenses in general, whether in courts of common law or courts of equity. Now, if you talk to any bar association people, they say, well, there's no such thing as a common law court. Well, there may not be today, but there used to be. and I've given you two incidences of proof of that. One directly out of the act that created the federal courts, okay, and one out of this old book, and this is an 1877 book.
Yeah.
Okay. Volume 1, but here's the interesting thing about this. Title 1, Chapter 1, Title 1 of Contracts and Torts, of Rights of Person and of Property in general. Section 1, some general considerations. Every person has an interest in the laws and the remedies which exist for the protection of person and of property. The rights of natural persons are either absolute and as such relate to life, limb, liberty, health, and reputation, or they are relative and such as pertain to the relations of husband and wife, parents and child, guardian, ward, and master and servant, and the like in instances. There are also rights of the artificial persons, such as corporations. And that's where we have the problem today. Corporations are considered and put on the same level as you and me as live individual persons. Okay. Now the problem what we have though is a corporation is a person. You and I are not. We're people. If you go back and look in the legal old historical use of the term person, a person originally was a mask worn by an actor to help project his voice on the stage, and it depicted either his character that he was portraying or himself, but the person was not the man that was wearing the mask. The person is the mask, and what the corporate governments have done today.
Sorry. Say that last part again.
All of us.
Whoop. Rolling again. Go ahead.
Okay, today the corporations, the corporate courts, which are really banks creating bonds, have placed all of us and placed a personage on over our existence.
You mean in all cap titles, when they title you in all capitals and call you to their bank to extract money from you?
Exactly.
Force you to make forced deposits into their bank.
Exactly. We have all the history on that as well to show, even the English history that shows there's nowhere in any English curriculum